Good morning, everyone, and really exciting to be here. It's interesting, when you took out the dollar bill, I thought to myself, you know, many of the things that we talk about is a world beyond cash. So I have many things to discuss. I wasn't really going to get into the world beyond cash, but I will say an interesting soundbite is 85% of the world's transactions are still in cash. So it's there's a lot of cash, and there's a lot of room for us to, as we look at how the future of commerce, which is what I will spend most of my time on, about the commerce revolution, about how buyers and sellers are coming together in a new way that is being facilitated by technology at a pace that large companies, small companies, consumers, small businesses, governments are really trying to keep pace with. And what you've seen this week, hopefully everybody had a great show, is all kinds of manifestations of how retailers, e-tailers, OEMs, manufacturers, huge global companies are trying to take advantage of the voracious appetite that consumers have on a couple of themes that I'm going to hit on with regard to some of my remarks. So, the best of times and the worst of times. Some of a couple of sound bites. We just had our holiday season. So sales year over year on retail was about, this is a global number, plus or minus in different markets, but between 7 and 8% overall. But if you start to peel the onion, what we see is that online, which is a combination of mobile, tablet, PC, et cetera, was north of 20%. And that north of 20% has been consistent over the last 24, 27 months, which means that there's an extraordinary runway for us to continue with this voracious appetite that consumers have to not necessarily be in front of an item when it comes time for the purchase. Another thing that I want to, keep focus on for my remarks are a couple of key themes. This notion of personalization, and that it has to be about me. Consumers have extraordinary amount of choices, very much focused on themselves and how it relates to my world, my family, my commute, and my social network. The other couple of key items, contextual. Is it in the moment? Does it help me reduce friction? The entire journey with e-tailers is about the reduction of abandonment and how they get their consumers to go from selecting the item to purchasing the item. How do we get it in a smoother journey from I'm interested, it's in the right moment, and actually the final purchase. So the velocity of technology is really driving the ability to reduce abandonment rates. All types of digital wallets have been launched. Our own, I'll do a small advertisement for MasterPass. And what I want to share with you is some of the technologies, because I'm in the Mastercard Labs vertical, which focuses on next generation solutions and really extending beyond the payment. Because while we are a company that does payments, we are absolutely a company that is embedded in technology. And we understand that consumers don't wake up and say, I have to make a payment today. They say, I need to get a cup of coffee. I need to make sure that I get on the train and that I can pay for the train. I need to buy a gold necklace. But it's not necessarily about the payment. So what's driving consumer journeys before and after the payment? And of course, the payment has to be secure, and we'll talk about that as well. So some horizons, and this is very brief, and we could probably spend hours actually talking about some of the technology horizons. I've just divided it into kind of two different planes. Kind of today, the next 1 to 3 years, you've walked around the massive CES halls. You've seen a lot of this. As well as kind of technically possible, but ultimately, will these be able to scale, take hold, and become something that consumers, merchants, governments are able to embed on a regular basis? So unattended retail. It started with just being able to get a coffee or some water or a soda. Well, now if you go to airports, you see that you can buy headphones in unattended retail. You see that you can buy cream in unattended retail. There's all types of proliferation of different products that are starting to go into this category. Ambient commerce. If you have, and you'll see an example of this, 275 miles logged on your runners or your sneakers, all of a sudden, Zappos can send to you on the 276th mile, you'll receive new sneakers because they know based on the chip that's in your sneaker that it's time for your next version. And the friction and the requirement to think about it is completely eliminated. 3D printing and the ability for us to understand immediate delivery of millions of SKU items so that inventory is reduced for merchants. This is one that we think will ultimately be hugely used from the standpoint of just-in-time manufacturing as well as inventory management. And you're seeing all types of companies really start to look at how do they embed that into their manufacturing process and delivery process. You then go into the smart robots. There's a ton of them if you walk the halls in CES. What are the use cases for them? Are consumers comfortable talking to a robot? How far will they go in their purchase journey with regard to a robot versus a human versus a self-attended and self-directed type of transaction? Autonomous vehicles, there's also extraordinary amount of companies that are showing on this, and how that will change the journey and the purpose with regard to when you get in the car and your decision to use a car and perhaps be with colleagues to have a meeting in the car as opposed to deciding to take a train somewhere. And there's all types of efforts against really understanding by consumer segment how our journey in the car will not just be a commute, but potentially an inspirational session or a meeting. And then the last one, number one toy item for purchase for the holiday season, drones. And so there is a lot of people that are playing around and using drones. We always look at the commerce component of it. So how and what will be the commerce piece of drones? And so some of these horizons and some of these technologies lead to manifestations of technology. And one of the other components that we spend an inordinate amount of time looking at is data. And how do you take what is on the forefront of being developed from a technology perspective and marry it with data to be able to really understand what the conversation needs to be with the consumer, with the family, with the small business, with the government, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of stakeholders to be able to understand how not only to aggregate and use the data, but to use analytics to be able to really make your business more efficient, make the next offer and discussion with your customer appropriate, ensure there's loyalty and engagement. Consumers are overloaded. It has to be the right message. When my husband gets an offer for a manicure, it doesn't make sense, although I don't want to suggest that men don't get manicures, because men do get manicures. I'm already being politically incorrect. Enhanced personalized shopping experiences, that this item is specifically for me because they know, and you'll see that I drink Americano coffee, so I'm not going to want an offer for a Frappuccino. New channels. You hopefully saw that we launched the intelligent fridge with Samsung, and Groceries by Mastercard is a new app that allows online shopping directly from your refrigerator. Well, that's a brand new channel, because the refrigerator, before the ability to have it as an interactive channel to be able to provide commerce, was hardware. Yeah, maybe you could get ice cubes or shaved ice or water, and you can continue to do that. But there is now a 21.5-inch screen that is embedded on the right upper quadrant of a refrigerator, where you can interact with your favorite grocer to order the items that you need using any US issued credit or debit card, and eliminate the friction. Because even with all of the online grocers and stores that are available, it is a bumpy road between online and offline with consumer. And then this notion that consumers cannot wait for anything. Nobody wants to wait in a queue. People want immediate, instant gratification with regard to services and products. And the companies that are able to eliminate the friction and deliver on that will ultimately be the winners. So we'll go through some examples of that. So here's a story on smarter checkout. About a year and a half ago, we developed a commerce platform that facilitates mobile payment and ordering. It's branded Quicker, QKR, but frankly, we partnered with a very cool company in the UK called Wagamama, and you are now able to order your items at the table using your mobile phone, and instead of you could have a great meal. I don't know if those of you that know Wagamama, you'd have a great meal, and instead of having to wait on average, 12 to 20 minutes for the server to then bring you your check once you've had this great meal, that is now eliminated. I'd like to roll a video and show you from the perspective of the restaurant. Not only is there the consumer win, but from the restaurant, the perspective was, we want to be able to serve more customers because we have a queue at lunch and at dinner.
Wagamama is a Pan-Asian concept inspired by Japanese ramen bars and Asian cuisine. Our first restaurant opened in Bloomsbury in 1992. We're in 16 countries, 147 restaurants worldwide. Our concept's based on fresh food, prepared to order, nutritious, delivered as soon as it's ready out the kitchen. So it hits the customer as fresh as possible. I'm IT director at Wagamama. My job is to look at new innovations, specifically in the digital space, that's going to help drive the customer experience. Customer service is the heart of everything we do. Everything we focus on is driven by the customer experience. We recognise there's an opportunity by simplifying and quickening the payment process. The idea became, how can we make it so the customer can pay in a very secure, safe and simple way to a brand that they recognise and trust, and leave when they're ready to, rather than when we're ready to provide them with the bill and take payments. We wanted something that just basically they could go any venue and pay using the card. So to do that, we needed to find a company that had a brand that people trusted, recognised, and was going to be safe and secure, and had the ability to be able to scale up on a global scale. So we approached Mastercard and we shared our vision, and they were engaged in what we were delivering. As a consumer, you download the app, you sign into the app, put your payment details into the app, they're safe and secure. You show the code to the waiter will sign that code to the table, so the two are linked up. You then in real time see the order. When you're ready to pay, you pick the card you want to pay with, put the tip in if you want to, and then hit pay, put your password in, process is finished, you get a receipt on your phone, and it closes the check until you're ready to leave. If you want to share that bill with a colleague or friend, you show them the code, they can basically then select the things they're willing to pay for. From a Wagamama perspective, we're enhancing the customer experience, we're speeding up the payment process from a consumer and a restaurant perspective, and we're enabling the staff to focus on serving and driving revenue.
You can now also, this is rolled out in quite a number of restaurants in the UK as well. You can order from your seats at Yankee Stadium if you are interested in Major League Baseball. But incrementally now you can, if you've already set your order in at Wagamama or any of the restaurants that we have this, you can order another round of drinks and not have to find the server. And so really it's about efficiency with the restaurant, but it's also about trying to raise average ticket size and this notion of splitting the check, and especially in locations where you're with colleagues or millennials that need to actually get the check split down to the exact penny. It really is quite an innovation for us that we are working on scaling. The next one is about improved and frictionless security. And so here you have consumers with their digital wallets, and we have developed Mastercard digital enablement services that ensures that the credentials, the credit card that is actually in your phone is not your credit card. It is a token. And this ultimately is about ensuring that consumers are comfortable, safe, and secure with regard to their transactions, so that the friction and the concern around security is eliminated. And we're working with our partners at the banks as well as with the merchants to ensure that this becomes something that is scaled globally. You see it with some of the pays that have been announced, Apple Pay, Android Pay, as well as Samsung Pay. Then you have frictionless, persistent authentication. And in this case, you see a picture of a NEMI band. NEMI is a small startup out of Toronto that uses your ECG, your heartbeat, to authenticate you. This also has an RFID chip in it so that you can do contactless transactions. So I can use this, get into the office. It eliminates the requirement for my pass key. I can go and get a coffee and tap with it, opening your car, opening hotel rooms. So as you start to think about the reduction of friction in a consumer journey, this really gets to using something that everyone has, a heartbeat. Then there's the whole notion of personalized shopping experiences. I talked to you about, I've run my 275 miles, and I now receive in the mail my new runners, my new sneakers, because it is part of a process that I've signed up with to say, I don't want to have to worry about looking at the soles of my sneakers. I want that to happen automatically for me. And as we start to, and we are right in the intersection between buyers and sellers, you'll start to see this notion of subscription services. Consumers sign up, and for 2 years, they know, you see it with wine, you see it with fruit, you see it with meat, but with repeat items that have some level of cadence and frequency, this is absolutely a trend to watch out for on the ambient commerce side. Immersive virtual malls. So for those of you that actually don't want, there's a ton of this that you've seen in the CES halls, but for those of you that actually physically don't want to leave your home, I lived for 7 years in Toronto. Occasionally it's really cold there. So the notion of going shopping from the comforts of your home and really understanding how this leads to consumers, to merchants that are in one location being able to go global is absolutely a trend that we are investing in, as well as trying to understand how this moves the consumer journey. Because you buy in this format doesn't mean that you don't want to buy in another format. And I think that's really this notion of omni-channel as well as omni-commerce. Consumers, and I talked about it initially with regard to this contextual nature. Occasionally, I might want to do immersive virtual malls, but occasionally I might actually also want to do the physical piece. And the e-tailers and the retailers and the large brands are trying to understand how to marry and be consistent with regard to the way that they deliver their services across multiple channels. This is one of my favorite, AR and the dressing room. I would never buy this item if it was in green. Green is not my color. But if I see it in purple or in blue, it all of a sudden changes the entire story for me. And to be able to show this to a consumer when the blue item is not in inventory at the moment starts to unlock the possibility for purchase and closing the deal at the moment. So this is a really exciting one. In this particular story, it's about fashion. There are quite a number of other verticals that we're looking at that are trying to use this type of technology as well. And then we have virtual buying assistants, and you see the proliferation of Amazon's Alexa. I don't know if anybody has an Alexa in their home, but really trying to reduce its kind of Siri on steroids, if you will, trying to reduce the friction in the entire commerce and user equation, and really getting it personalized to you. Tell me the weather. I actually bought one for my husband over the holidays. Tell me the weather for Las Vegas was my last request to it. And these technologies are absolutely evolving. Are they fully there yet? No, but they're definitely better than they were. And if you understand how to integrate it into the rest of the technology that you have, it really does start to change your daily experience. New channels, and every device is a commerce device. We're very, very focused on that, from your smartphone, from your tab, to, in the most recent case that we've just launched, your refrigerator and the connected home and the smart home. And imagine the amount of time that consumers spend in their kitchen, always the place that people aggregate around. Here we go.
Prepare for a new and smarter way of shopping for groceries right from your refrigerator. Introducing Groceries by Mastercard. Experience seamless ordering from multiple merchants, where you can add everyday items to your intelligent cart and pay with a single secure checkout. Keep your fridge well stocked and your home happy. Groceries by Mastercard.
If you get a chance to, before the show is over, go either to the Samsung booth or to the Mastercard booth, you can get a bird's eye view of that. It really, I was lucky enough to have it in my kitchen for the last 6 weeks, and it really is extraordinary because you just don't realize the impact of this huge screen and how it can transform not only online shopping, but what were the things that were on a refrigerator: pictures, the resolution of photos, schedules, recipes, browser, weather, etc. So I really recommend taking a look at that one. That is definitely a next generation. Connected to refrigerators is laundry. We have developed, using our commerce platform, an app that eliminates the pain with regard to always having to find coin to do commercial laundry, or and have even developed an application, and this one is in partnership with Whirlpool, in an app that we call Clothespin, and there's even a loyalty component to that. And then this notion of instant gratification and immediate fulfillment. I see a watch, I take a picture of it, I'm able to buy it. This technology is absolutely on the horizon today and will continue to get better and better. Rapid delivery to your door, the connection between providers, between merchants that are partnering, and partnerships is a huge part of how companies and brands are getting this done, with Uber to be able to deliver luxury goods, etc. This will become more and more part of the way commerce is being revolutionized, if you will, as long as consumers are willing to pay some of the delivery fees, because there is a cost to all of this. It's not something that I'm going into, but obviously, I think you'll see also drones being part of the immediate delivery component. But you know, the question is what pricing mechanism and how will companies be able to scale that? So to wrap up, you know, technology and data, which I really didn't even touch, are changing the game at levels that are really extraordinary. Frictionless, personalized, and contextual commerce, key themes to watch out for. Absolutely the creation of new and different channels to engage with consumers and have merchants create new marketplaces. And agility is the key. How quickly can we take advantage of these technologies? In Mastercard Labs, the R&D vertical within Mastercard, we have a saying, and I'll leave you with that: dream in years and ship in days. Thank you.